In this video, we will see how we can write text or code that is ignored by the computer. Code that is ignored by the computer is known as a comment, and to create a comment, all we need to do is simply type a hash symbol in front of the code. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would we want the computer to ignore code? Well, two main reasons come to mind. Firstly, we are able to write explanatory text that helps describe what a piece of code is doing. So we could type a comment such as the following: hash, this code will assign the string golf to a variable called sport. We can then write our code. Now obviously this is a very simple example, but assuming your code was complex, when you come back to your code months later, you may have forgotten what you had previously implemented, or if you share your code with others, it will provide them with some context and guidance as to what the code is doing. Now you can also add an end of line comment, which explains what a specific line of code is doing. So if I were to type the hash symbol and then type "this is an end of line comment," the computer will still execute the assignment of golf to a variable called sport and ignore the comments after the hash symbol. The second main reason is that you may have lines of code that do not quite operate in the way you expect, or you may have a line of code that operates the way you expect it to, but you do not want it to execute. Now by putting a hash symbol in front of the code, the computer will no longer read that line. So if I decide that I do not want to execute this line of code, I can proceed the code with a hash symbol, and you can see that the syntax highlighting changes and it now becomes a comment. When I try to execute this code block, nothing gets executed as it is entirely comments. Now you may eventually want the computer to read the line of code, so you can simply remove the hash symbol, which will uncomment the code line. This saves you from having to write the whole code block out again when you want a piece of code to be executed by the computer. Finally, you may want to comment out multiple lines of code at once without having to separately apply a hash symbol to individual lines. Fortunately, there is a shortcut that you can use to comment out and uncomment lines of code. So let me just copy and paste this code line numerous times. Now if I want to comment out all of the lines of code at once, I can simply highlight the lines of code that I'm interested in and then press Ctrl and the / key. This will automatically comment out the lines, and they will now be ignored by the computer when we execute the code. The same thing goes for uncommenting. In order to make the code lines active again, simply press Ctrl and /. So remember, the hash symbol is used to comment out code. Use it for descriptive purposes or for ignoring lines of code that you don't want the computer to execute. Highlighting code lines and pressing Ctrl / is a shortcut that can be used to comment out multiple lines at the same time, saving you a lot of hassle.